All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about a tiny creature that causes some huge problems for public health. And we're going to look at some seriously cool science that's giving us a brand new way to fight back. To really get why this research matters, you've got to start with this number, 500,000. That's the estimated number of people treated for Lyme disease in the US every single year. It's a massive number, and it all starts with one little bite. And this is the culprit, the black-legged tick. Now, take a good look at the size difference here. You've got the larger female on the left and the smaller male on the right. And trust me, this isn't just a random detail. It's actually the key to this entire story. So first up, let's just be clear about what we're dealing with. This isn't just some backyard pest. It's a genuine public menace. You know, Lyme disease gets all the attention, but the black-legged tick is way more than a one-trick pony. This single species can carry and transmit at least 7 different diseases to humans. It's basically a tiny walking cocktail of infections. Okay, and this is where things get really interesting. We have to talk about the tick's gender gap. Because, believe it or not, when it comes to spreading all those diseases, there is a massive difference between the males and the females. Which, of course, leads you to ask the big question. Okay, so why? Why on earth does a tick's sex matter so much in this fight? Well, here's the breakdown, and it is pretty stark. The female tick is bigger, sure, but here's the critical part. She absolutely requires a blood meal to reproduce. She has to feed to lay eggs. And that feeding process, that's when the pathogens get transmitted. The males, on the other hand, they generally don't even bother feeding on hosts like us, which means they're very unlikely to pass anything on. The bottom line is, for public health, the female is public enemy number 1. So easy enough, right? Just focus on the females. Well, there's a catch. For the scientists who are out there tracking these populations, telling them apart isn't so simple, especially when the ticks are very young or if a sample they collect is damaged. Trying to identify them just by looking, forget about it. It's next to impossible. So, to get around that problem, scientists had to do some serious detective work. They went on a hunt, not through the woods, but deep inside the tick's DNA, looking for a very specific genetic fingerprint. And this was a massive undertaking. They gathered ticks from all over the US, sequenced the entire genomes of more than 160 of them, and then used some really powerful software to sift through mountains of genetic data. They were looking for a needle in a haystack, a piece of DNA that would only ever show up in males and never ever in female. And that's exactly what this male-specific DNA sequence is. Think of it like a unique genetic tag that's only found on the male, or Y chromosome. If you can find that tag, you know with 100% certainty that you're looking at the DNA of a male tick. And they've found it. Success. After all that searching, they pinpointed this perfect little region of DNA that acted as the definitive genetic fingerprint for male black-legged ticks. This was a huge breakthrough. But, you know, a discovery is one thing. The real question is, what can you do with it? Well, they built this incredible new tool. You can think of it as a brand new kind of DNA detective. And the best part about this new test is just how simple and visual it is. Here's how it works. The test looks for 2 things. First, a general marker that all ticks have. And second, that special male-only marker we were just talking about. So for a female tick, what shows up? Just that one general marker. The result is crystal clear, one single band. But for a male, you guessed it, you get both. The universal marker shows up plus the unique male-only one. And the result is unmistakable. 2 bands. It's just that simple. 1 band, it's a female. 2 bands, it's a male. No more guesswork. Now, this was already a massive win, a foolproof way to identify a tick's sex. But then, as the scientists started using it on ticks from out in the wild, they discovered it could do something else, something completely unexpected. Get this, they ran the test on wild female ticks, and some of them came back with 2 bands, the male result. So how is that possible? A female tick doesn't just grow a Y chromosome. Well, the answer was sperm. The male-specific DNA they were detecting wasn't part of her body. It was from sperm she was carrying after having made it. So this one test could not only tell them the tick's sex, but it could also tell if a wild female was ready to lay eggs. Just incredible. Okay, so let's just pull all that together for a second. What does this powerful new DNA detective actually let scientists do? It's basically a 2-in-1 scientific wonder. First, it can nail down a tick's sex from just a tiny piece of DNA, even if it's just an egg or leg. And second, it can reveal if a female out in the wild has mated. And that brings us to the most important part, the so what. How does all this cool science actually help us in the real-world fight against diseases like Lyme? Well, it all comes down to prediction. If you're a public health official and you can now know the exact ratio of males to females in an area and what percentage of those females have already mated, suddenly you have something like a crystal ball. It helps you predict where and when a tick population might be about to explode, which lets you be much smarter and more targeted with your control efforts. And the scientists behind the study really said it best. This work isn't just about one finding. It's a foundational tool that's going to open the door for all kinds of future research into how we can better control this major disease vector. So it really makes you think, doesn't it? We often focus on fighting diseases with new vaccines or treatments, and of course, those are absolutely crucial. But this research shows that sometimes our most powerful weapon is simply knowledge. A deep understanding of the basic biology of our tiniest enemies. Could that be our best defense in the long run?